Welcome back to the show. Today, I have got a fantastic guest with me, and we are going to be talking about how to build wealth. I often focus on how to build your business here on the show, of course, and how coaches in the wellness industry can get more clients and grow their impact and all of those things. But there is a difference between having a profitable coaching business and actually growing your personal wealth. This still continues to be a bit of a taboo subject, I have to say, which is too bad because it is such an important thing to talk about, and particularly for women, because money is a good thing. When you have money, you have choices. You have freedom, and that's what I want for you all. So let's get into this very juicy topic. Now, my guest on the show today is Erinn Bridgmann, and Erinn is a money management and mindset coach who has built up a real estate empire together with her husband. And I think that you are going to absolutely love her story. In our conversation, we get into all kinds of interesting things about money and building wealth and investing in ourselves and our futures. And she just shares so much of her own personal experience. I think that you are really going to enjoy this. Well, hey, Erinn, welcome to the show. It is so great to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get into this conversation. I know that you have got some really great stories and some amazing advice to give our audience all about the topic. I mean, lots of things we can get into, but certainly about building wealth, which is a subject that I love to talk about, of course. And as women, I find that we definitely don't talk about this nearly often enough. And I know that that is something that you are working on changing. So this is just going to be such a juicy topic today. I'm really excited. No,
Yes.
yes, exactly. Now, before we get into everything, I would love for you just to share a bit of your story with our audience, Erinn. Just catch us up to speed. I know that you're a money management and mindset coach now, but you didn't start out that way, right? I would love for you to tell us all about that.
Yes. So I began my entrepreneur journey about 10 years ago. But I feel like I've had it in my blood for a long time since I was a child. And I paid for college. Door-to-door book selling, actually. So technically, entrepreneurship began before then, but that was crazy days, and I think the hardest type of sales you could possibly do. But then my husband and I got married, and this was back in 2012, and we bought our first camera. And from there, we scaled our photography, videography business. And that was what really helped us begin to live the lifestyle and the wealth that we wanted to like position ourselves with. And so we both had full-time jobs that we were growing this photography brand. We grew it to six figures in the first few years of business. And since then, we took the photography business to fund our real estate empire. And we can go into that at some point if you want. And
Mm.
now um, I was able to transition out of my full-time job. Photography kind of helped me get there and kind of create the new thing, which was business coaching that I started 5 years ago. And so I'm super passionate about coming alongside of women, helping them to grow both in their strategy and in their thinking when it comes to money.
That's awesome. Okay, so you started out, so you built a photography business first. You guys, that's what you guys did together. You and your husband, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And and then from there you springboarded that into your real estate business, which I'm just going to go ahead and call a real estate empire right now because I know that it is that, but I want you to tell us about that.
Yes.
Um, and then and now with all of that experience under your belt and all of that whole journey, now you've turned your attention to helping other women to follow their own path, like whatever their journey is towards creating that wealth for themselves or their families, all of that kind of stuff. Is that the
Yes.
way that it went?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so tell us a little bit. I mean, the real estate thing is very cool, and it certainly is. Something that a lot of people, I think, a lot of women don't necessarily think of this
Mhm.
as a means of building wealth. And I'd love to kind of like dig into that a little bit and tell
Yeah.
us, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so this was back when I was actually a resident director at a college. So I was living in an apartment building inside of a dorm with my husband. And the story goes, we had saved $18,000 excess money. And that's where, the first steps to building wealth are, first, you have to know your lifestyle, your current lifestyle, and we can dive into all that. And you have to have a zeroed budget or a plus budget there. And
Mhm.
so then from that, you have to create excess. You have to have additional money that you can use to go towards things that help build your wealth. And so Brett and I say, we jokingly say, we didn't marry each other for the money, because we had like a net worth of negative like $100,000 when we got married because of our student debt. And so we had accumulated $18,000 of excess from our photography business. And we said, we can take this and we can pay off one student loan, or we can take this $18,000 and we can produce an asset that will pay off all of our student loans. And I
Mm.
think that comes with a mindset thing where you have to move out of this, I have to work for money, to I have to have money work for me. And that has been a philosophy that Brett and I have held for our most of our marriage, as we're like a serial entrepreneur couple. And we totally believe in getting in the weeds, building, grinding, all of that, and which is necessary. But that is, if we only do that, we have sort of a stunted ability to grow our wealth, because then it's only tied to our own resources and our own time and our own energy. And so, yeah, that's when Brent was very into this, educating himself. He's a bigger risk taker than me, and I'm a risk taker. And he was commuting to Chicago every week for his PhD, and just listening to a lot of things from educating him in real estate. And we kept talking and talking, and I'm a little more tendency towards, man, I love to just like see the 18K in the bank account and like roll around in it a little bit. And he's like, let's make it work for us right now. And so one evening we were in bed, and I was like, you know what, Brent, if this is something that you really believe in and you've done a lot of work to research this, I can get on board. Like, I'm in line with your philosophy. Like, let's explore it. And I remember I woke up the next morning. He wasn't in bed. He called me. I'm like, where the heck are you? He's like, oh, I'm on my bike and I am finding our first rental property. And I'm like, oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
Brett,
gosh,
you're
I love that.
crazy. So within a week, we penned our first home, and that was back in 2014.
That's amazing. I love that, and I just want to highlight exactly what you said. It's such a mindset shift, and we can think the mindset is fluffy, but it is not, because it is absolutely controlling your decisions, and it's controlling your actions and the things that you do or the things that you don't do. And so, yeah, of course, like the obvious thing for you guys to have done with that 18K, and the sensible thing that I'm sure all kinds of people would have advised you, is to pay off your student debt, right? Like to pay down your loans, and that, of course, is operating from such a scarcity mindset, like must not have any debt, must not, like what, in your early 20s, like what, or however old you guys were at that point,
Yeah.
like, oh no, we can't have any debt, pay off the debt as soon as possible. And a lot of people that would be their impulse, and that would be their advice, that they would get, all of that. But you guys had this mindset, or it sounds like spearheaded from your husband, but you were on board, which is awesome. And like, let's make the money work for us, not just kind of like quickly get rid of debt because debt makes us uncomfortable, but let's see if we can actually roll this 18K into something more substantial. So give us a little glimpse into what you guys actually, like, where are you now with real estate? So that was sort of the humble beginnings. Like, where are you now with that?
Yeah, so that was our first home in 2014, and we were renting to college students, and I was, on campus. So that was a really beautiful investment from a numbers perspective. And fast forward to now, we've learned a freaking ton, and we are still learning a ton. And
Yeah.
I just keep reminding myself, like, as like, education's expensive. Like, in the past week, we've had two break-ins into our flips and had
Oh,
people stealing. We've probably lost $20,000. And you have to be comfortable, like, as you are making risk, you have to be comfortable losing. I think that's really, really important. And so, obviously you need to be educated. Not, but it's true, like education is expensive. And so now our we have a company called Berkeley and State, which is a brokerage in which kind of manages our assets. We own it with a business partner 50/50. And so it's basically designed to scale our portfolios inside of real estate. And us as owners each have roles and kind of running that. We have five full-time employees and a couple contractors that work for us. And last year we purchased, the Berkeley and State Empire ran 85 homes, and we're targeted to do 180. Might be a little bit different with market changes, but and so yeah, we are just kind of growing it and finding, you know, how do we take cash piles and create cash flows, and then also create more cash piles, and that's what we're up to now in real estate.
I love it. That's amazing. That is such a huge accomplishment in like a really relatively short period of time, right? Like when tell me again when it was that you guys first bought your first rental property?
2014, so it's been 8
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, like that's a really short period of time to go from, starving students paying off your wanting to pay off your debts to like seriously owning a real estate empire and all
Mhm.
self-made. I just love that. That is just so cool. And I was talking with my husband about this concept recently about like the idea of playing to win versus playing not to lose. And I think what you just described about like the risk, right? Like of course there's risks and you guys have you had break-ins and you've, I'm sure, lost money like along that whole journey in that 8 years. But if you're so afraid of not like losing, not, having anything go wrong, you don't want anything to go wrong. You can't stand the idea of losing money. That's playing not to lose. It's all safe, keeps you nice and safe, but that's not playing to win. And you guys clearly playing to win. And you made that decision right off the bat. And it's just, I mean, bravo to you for that. And I love
Mhm.
it. And I love that you're all
Aw.
about like helping other women to do the same. Like it starts with stepping into that playing to win mentality and then making your decisions from that
Yeah.
place.
And you're talking about, how you're conditioning your mind. Like, if you're conditioning your mind not to lose, then you're really like in a space of fear. Like, you're always on guard. You're always right. Or
Mhm.
the other opposite is like for opportunity and possibility. And it's a very different energy and a very different thinking that, you're talking about there that produces different action and results.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to sort of pull this back to like how this relates to people who are building like a coaching business, for example.
Hmm.
Use a lot of the people in our audience listening or watching today, and they're building a coaching business. And I know that there is a difference, and I'd love for you to talk to me about the difference between profitability in your coaching business, like making money in your coaching business, and actually growing your personal wealth, because they are they're different things, right? So tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I see that many times as we look at education in the entrepreneur space, especially around growing your business, we're often not actually not even talking about profitability, we're talking about revenue. So
Mm.
we have a lot of people advertising or their, marketing being like, I'll help you double your revenue, or let's hit six figures in revenue, let's do this seven-figure launch. And they're all talking about top line revenue. And if you haven't read Profit First, right at the beginning, freshening my mind on that, and talking about how so many companies, even really successful multi-million dollar brands, are not profitable. And so it actually costs them, they have a $200,000 launch, they advertise that, but it costs them $300,000 to make it happen.
Mm.
And so obviously then you just have this cycle of debt inside of your company. And so of course it's important to focus on revenue and for that to be something that you are working to increase, but it has to be revenue that has a high profit margin and that you're looking at the profitability of the company alongside of your revenue. And then it doesn't really help if you keep it all in the business. And this is where it comes to that place where you're talking about how do I have my business fund my personal wealth? And that is through your salary, your distributions, your bonuses, and that you are having that be, especially with like, being a human and running up against our own behavior and we're emotional beings, having that be something very automatic, like your salary should be something you have on auto pay that is coming out of your business, that is prioritized. Often with women, I see that we pay ourselves last, we pay ourselves least, and we pay ourselves inconsistently. And so when I do the work I do with women, we really understand all the sides of your business, looking at the numbers, analyzing cash flow projections, so that we can create a salary that is consistent, that's being raised, and then we bring it into your personal world. And then, I have a whole system and a whole philosophy around how do you be the CFO of your personal life,
Mm.
because just paying yourself a salary isn't enough. And so we want to make sure that we have that component of being the personal CFO as well to grow our personal wealth.
Yeah, there is a lot in there. We need to unpack some of that stuff because
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that one of the things that I heard is like knowing what your numbers are, really looking at your numbers and not just like surface level, like, oh yeah, I'm bringing in this kind of revenue. That's great. Yay. But really looking at things like profitability, where are your expenses, like what's going on? And I think that a lot of people and women in particular, perhaps, um, are sort of resist really digging into the numbers. Is that something that you help people with? Like tell me what your thoughts are on like really understanding what's going on with your finances.
Well, I attract a lot of those people who are, I don't know numbers, math is scary,
Yeah.
spreadsheets are intimidating, and who put these limiting labels on themselves like, I'm just not a numbers person. I just don't know how to do math, all these types of things. And I work with a lot of coaches or creatives, photographers, web designers, people like this who have more of a bent towards a creative mind.
Mhm.
And I always like to say that's just a limiting belief and a label you're placing on yourself by saying, I'm not a numbers person, or I don't know how to do blah, blah, blah. Because nobody is born knowing math or knowing spreadsheets. This is a skill we can attain. So this is something that we can learn. And so I think that it starts with our thinking and how we've conditioned ourselves over many years, like subconsciously, that as women, we don't know how to handle money, we don't know how to handle numbers, like all of that. And I know we keep saying like women, women, women. And it is, I just want to highlight that it is something that society has given us an ill advantage towards. If you look at history and if you look at even, of course, now, like how much women are disadvantaged when it comes to money, which is the power, the resource that runs the world, it's significant. And so it is a systemic, historic problem that we are pushing up against as we enter into becoming CFOs and putting money into our pockets and putting power into our pockets. It's crazy to me to think about in the past 100 years, a woman could not open a bank account without a man. She could not open her own credit card. And, there wasn't legislation even in place, but 60 years ago to press for equal pay for men and women. And even now, we see that most women they live paycheck to paycheck. Um, Even if we look at like how media and how people speak to women versus men, financial stuff, it's always about spending and not having excessive spending and all this.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not about investing and growing beyond your income and all that kind of stuff. So we are at in a really critical phase in history, I think, where stuff is starting to shift and change, but we have a long way to go. And so I think that's why you see like certain limitations, beliefs, blocks specific to women that that I want to kind of break through as we create the wealthy woman movement.
I 100% agree. I'm totally on board with everything you just said because you're right. Like historically, systematically, women have been, like you said, disadvantaged, like oppressed in terms of our ability to handle money, make money, manage the money, and it's just been so suppressed as and certainly not encouraged. And so it's not our fault, that that is what has happened
Yes.
historically. And it's not our fault that that's the way that it is. But now it is and I believe this, and you tell me what you think though, is like it's our responsibility to actually take that control back because, this is still, and it starts with examining, have you internalized those beliefs that society has been pushing at you, that as a woman, it's not, and whatever the belief is, right? Like as a woman, you're not really that great with money, or you probably have a spending habit as a woman, right? Like all of those stories that I mean, it's terrible to hear it from somebody else, but are you actually hearing it in your own mind too? Because that's where it
Mm,
needs to start, right? And also,
absolutely.
like, making money, like some people, even some women, I've definitely worked with them who are even feeling comfortable claiming the desire to want to make more money than just what they
Hmm.
need, quote unquote, to actually get by, right? Like you want to, you are allowed to want more than that. You are allowed to want freedom for yourself, for your family, like all of that stuff, but you have to recognize it. You have to claim it and then go for it. I think that that's actually something, because Erinn, you've created freedom for your own family. Like I think because you're a mom, right? And
Yes.
you've created a beautiful lifestyle for your family specifically because of what you and your partner have done with money. Just I'd love for you to actually share a little bit about that, like what the lifestyle
Mm.
that you've created looks like.
Wow, that's like I haven't been asked that a lot, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's always, I think it's helpful to see into people's worlds, and I think it
Yeah.
gives people permission. And also, you're talking about how many times women feel icky when it comes to money and when it comes to wealth, and it comes towards this aspiration to want more. And I just like to say that what wealth is the power of money behind our values. And so I really teach a value-based approach to money. And so, this idea of it's all about designer bags and like super luxurious cars, and that might feel really misaligned for you. And that's
Right.
because that's not your values, that's not your goals. And so I really challenge people who maybe are in that place where they think about money and wealth and it's dirty and I shouldn't go for it and I'm not worthy of it, to really look at like what could money do for your life in a
Hmm.
way that is aligned with your values. And so, when I'm working with women and we're thinking about excess and additional money and where do we want to put it into our lifestyle, which I'll share about mine a bit, you know, my it comes out of our values. So one of my values is to have a really hospitable home, and like my home is very important to me. Obviously, I do all the interior design for I lead the design department in our real estate agent, all of the stuff we're doing in real estate. So design is very important, and we work from home, so like aesthetic and environment is so important to me. So I've put a lot of money into my home and what it looks like and feels like and smells like. And you know um and part of this is time, a value
Hmm.
with time, a debt value with home. But I have a personal assistant who works probably like an average of 15 to 20 hours a week for us, and helps us keep our home a sanctuary.
Mm.
And part of that was out of we our employees come to our home. This is like we have a back house area. That's where I'm sitting in now, and a shop and stuff, and they literally work here. And
Mm.
so, this is a space that a lot of people use. And I'm a friend who has like a very open door policy. So my friends come by and make themselves an espresso when they just need a little pick.
Nice.
Like
That's
it's
awesome.
very much so. Getting to have somebody who's taking care of the home and watering the plants and folding the laundry and keeping it really clean is helping me live out my value with my home, but also my value with my time. And I want to be, very strategic with my time. If I'm not working in my business, I want to be showing up as a really great wife and mom and friend and person for myself, to like have my own hobbies and my own self-care and stuff. And so outsourcing things like cleaning and laundry and meal prep and all that stuff just feels really aligned for me. and for my values. And so that's part of the lifestyle. Brett and I really, we we prioritize adventure and travel. It's adventure is one of our family values. And so making sure that Ava and the soon to be baby on the way, that they have a dynamic experience of life, and that they get to see the world, and that we get to see the world and enjoy, and so we put money towards those types of things. And um, my husband's an Enneagram 7, and we've been together for over 12 years. So his 7 has certainly rubbed off on me. So we love hobbies. We buy the mopeds and the electric bikes and, the fun things in life too, because that's something that we value. And so, whatever, thinking really about what are my values, and then how do I have my lifestyle like live into my values. A huge one for us is like generosity within our circles. And so, how can we show up in people's life generously? And so, yeah, I think that's maybe a little sneak peek into our lifestyle and kind of where and why those things have happened and are important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's beautiful. Like painting that picture and all of those things that you described, like valuing generosity and community, like being a friend and having your home be an open door, like welcoming and clean and all of those things are made possible by money, right? Like if you were scrambling and scrimping and, trying to just get by, you wouldn't be able to live out those values, traveling, showing your daughter the world, and and congratulations on a new one on the way soon too.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Yeah, but you'd be stuck in the just survival mode, and it's only because you gave yourself permission to actually strive for more that you are actually able to realize and make real what your true values are. I'm the same. Like I've got a lot of those values that you mentioned are the same for me, and like freedom being a huge one, and like being able to own my day and be able to make my own decisions about how I want to spend my time. Um, and money has allowed me that, right? Like being able to earn enough money so that I can actually have total freedom. If I want to do this, I can. If I don't want to do this, I don't have to. And that to me is priceless, right? Like that, but it's only an option when I liberated myself from like the grind of just getting by financially, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I love so much that. And so much it just transcends all of the stuff that you might think about in terms of what money's going to get for you. It's not like a McLaren in the driveway. It's not like no the latest handbag. It's not which by the way, if you do want those things, like if you truly value those things, then amazing and go for it.
Yeah.
But it's just like exactly like you said, it's all about with aligning your lifestyle with what you truly value, and money is the vehicle that will help you to get there. So
And I
that's
love this
awesome.
because this is debunking what so many women think wealth is,
Mhm.
and like the ickiness of wealth. It's like, oh, to desire money, that is just like so bad. I shouldn't want that. And it's like, oh, if I have money, it means I can go on more dates with my husband. And that's like
Yeah.
really important to me, and afford the babysitter and afford the fun date night. Or it's like, okay, like let's really like drill down what money would do for you. I think that at least the people I believe I'm serving and talking to and are listening to these shows and things are really heart-centered, beautiful women wanting to make impact in the world. And so I think you need to trust yourself a little more around your desires.
Yes, absolutely. And give yourself permission. You are allowed to want what you want. Like that is allowed. But I know we all have these feelings that that's not actually allowed. You're not like, you're
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to give you permission. And it's a problem. So it all starts with like looking inside and thinking, okay, what have I actually internalized about what society has been telling me about what I'm supposed to do with money, want about money, all of those kinds of things. So yeah. So now when you work with people, like you're working to help them with, I believe that you're helping them with like all that mindset stuff, but also just like with the logistic, practical matters of like, how do you actually manage your money? How do you track it? How do you increase your profitability? How do you build your wealth? All of those things. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've created a money matrix system, is what I call it. And it's a bunch of beautiful spreadsheets that help us really understand the money inside of our business and inside of our personal world. And so, many times when you come to business management, when people think about numbers and money around in that phase, they really just think, okay, I need a bookkeeper, I need a P&L sheet, and I'm good to go. And I love to say, no, being a CFO of your business is much more than that. You need to understand, and P&L sheets are very retroactive, right?
Mm,
You're reconciling for the sake of taxes many times. You're not using it as a tool from, current to future, which is really important. You need to be able to understand your cash flow, your profitability, all of these things. And many times, like really thinking ahead of like, what am I going to project in my business? Just not like, all right, I hope it all works out, or let me just look at my booked revenue or my safe numbers. But really, in the work that I do in the money matrix stuff, is helping us expand to manifest more, because we start to create projections, and we start to give those numbers assignments in our personal life. Like, if you can do this type of a launch, or if you strategize to bring on these types of clients at this rate, and we do marketing for that, and we, have intention around that, look, we can pay you this extra money into your personal life, and you can pay off your student loan in the next 6 months, and we strategize down to the dollar that way. So
mhm.
inside of the business, we make sure that we are looking at our numbers from current to future. We make sure that we are looking at not just a P&L sheet of what's our revenue, expenses, and profit, but we want to look at, what is our salary, what is our tax payment, what is our cash flow, what are our projections, and then that all translates into having a really good, clear personal plan. And so in the personal money mastery side of things, we work on understanding our budget. And I love, people like hate the word budget, but I love to like reframe that budgeting is about knowledge, not about restriction.
Mm,
And that, especially as entrepreneurs, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to cut down your life. We have to figure out what is your zeroed out budget. So that does mean if you have a, negative number, you either have to make more or spend less. I mean, it's numbers are sexy
right.
because they're so simple and they tell us so much. And so we figure out your budget, and your budget includes both your monthly expenditure and your annual expenditure. So on things that you might not spend every month, but you know that you have a pet that has to go to the vet, and you need to save for that
Mm.
monthly, and you need to save for car repairs and house maintenance and this vacation and Christmas, because those types of things you are part of your lifestyle budget that are not emergencies, and that our wealthy women plan for. And so once you strategize your lifestyle budget and we've zeroed that out, then we go into what are your financial goals. And I have specific financial goals that I coach women through. And then we have the business fund the lifestyle and the goals to help you grow in your wealth.
I love that. And I especially love the phrase numbers are sexy. That's my favorite.
Yes, that could be the title of this podcast.
I think it might be. Yeah,
Uh,
and because and hearing you go through all the different things that we need to attend to and dig into and think about, it would be easy for somebody to get overwhelmed, but and to feel like kind of scared and freaked out by that. But I really would challenge anyone who's listening or watching to not get overwhelmed or freaked out by that, but to be more excited, because this is very empowering stuff, right? And so, like, you
Absolutely.
have this opportunity to really dig into things and make a difference, and to arm yourself with knowledge, to inform yourself about what's going on, what possibilities are out there for you in the world, to really change the trajectory of your life and the lifestyle for your family. And really, it's empowering, and there's help also. You don't have to like do this completely alone. There's lots of help and support, of course, starting with you, Erinn. Actually, I would love for you just to tell, before we wrap everything up, I would love for you to tell our audience where people can go to find you, connect with you, learn more from you, all of that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, the best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I'm most active and hang out. So my name's spelled weird, so hopefully we'll put it in the show notes. But
Yeah, we will.
At Erinn, Erinn, two N's, _Bridgmann, Bridgman. And I'm getting ready to launch my own podcast. So you'll see all of that information.
Awesome.
And yeah, we're going to be focusing on wealth and money and both our mindset and management. And so Instagram's the best place to find me. Get on my email list. Every week I send different helpful tips and strategies, and you're the first to know about tools and all of that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Okay, yes, and I will absolutely put all of those links in the show notes so that people can easily find you and connect with you. Well, thank you so much, Erinn. This has just been so awesome.
Thank you, Kim. And I'd love for your guests to be able to have, they can, they're one of the things, the resources that are free that I give is the Wealthy Woman Checklist. And that
Mm,
is a breakdown, even more from what we've been able to talk about here, of how to be the CFO of your business, the CFO of your personal life, and the CFO of your mindset. And really helps break it down. And I've had people download it and be like, I had a meeting with my husband. We're working through these items. So go grab that as well.
that sounds like a really good place for people to start. Like, I know that
Yes.
sometimes you listen, you consume a podcast episode and you're like kind of fired up and you're excited, but not exactly sure where to start. That sounds like something that is an action step they can take. And if it's a checklist, it's totally, it just breaks it down
Yes.
into bite-sized pieces.
Absolutely. I'm an action-oriented coach. I'm like, okay, 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 I get it. Now I want to get to it. So there you
Yes,
go. Go
let's
download that and
do
get
some
to it.
things. Awesome. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, Erinn. Have an amazing day.
You too. Thanks, Kim.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And I hope that you got loads of value out of it and you've got some fresh ideas on how to build your own personal wealth. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Was there a part of Erinn's story that resonated? Was there an aha moment for you? Let me know in the comments. If you are watching this on video, or of course, if you're listening, then go ahead and find me on Instagram and let me know. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention one last time that my membership program, the Wellness CEO Club, is enrolling right now. But today is actually the very last day, and we are closing the doors tonight. So if you're watching or listening to this on the day this episode goes live, then it is not too late, and the link is in the description box. If you are building a business in the health and wellness industry and you need support and training and expert advice, plus you would love a really amazing, uplifting community to turn to for support and connection and collaboration, then this program is for you, and I would love for you to join us. Don't delay though, because like I say, we are closing enrollment tonight so that we can fully focus on welcoming and onboarding all our new members. Now, if you happen to miss the launch and the doors are actually closed when you head over to the link below, no worries, just pop your name on the wait list and we will, of course, let you know the minute that we reopen the doors again. Okay, that is a wrap for today. As always, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Have an amazing week, and I will see you again very soon.